Attack by Siegfried Sassoon. At dawn the ridge emerges, massed and dun, in the wild purple of glowering sun, smouldering through spouts of drifting smoke that shroud the menacing scarred slope, and one by one tanks creep and topple forward to the wire, the barrage roars and lifts, and then, clumsily bowed, with bombs and guns and shovels and battle gear, men jostle and climb to meet the bristling fire, lines of grey, muttering faces masked with fear. They leave their trenches, going over the top, while time tinks blank and busy on their wrists, and hope with furtive eyes and grappling fists flounders in mud. Oh Jesus, make it stop. That poem you just heard was Attack by Siegfried Sassoon. It was written in 1916. That's significant because that was about the time in World War I that people started to realize that soldiers were dying for no means, that there was no real purpose to the war, and there was just a massive loss of life. Siegfried Sassoon was actually one of World War I's strongest critics, and that comes across very, very strongly in his poem. The poem gives us a very, very vivid picture of what happens in these World War I battlefields. That's what Siegfried Sassoon was trying to get across, and he gets it across through this very, very sensual imagery. You can almost see the smoke billowing away. You can almost hear the guns firing, and he does it through some very, very vivid imagery and some very clever use of adjectives and metaphors. Almost every point, every noun that he wants to emphasize is preceded by a negative adjective. So you'll have drifting smoke, or a scarred slope, or clumsily bowed, which all give the feeling that this poem is really about the horrors of war and how terrible the battlefield really is. The last line of the poem sums up the whole thing really well when he says, "Oh Jesus, make it stop," and that's preceded by flounders in mud, and it really shows us that World War I was a really, really terrible place to be in, horrible thing to experience. So that line really does sum up the poem's uncertainty, depression, and just general carnage, really. The imagery that Sassoon created was horrific, yes, but it was very real at the same time. Like I said, be it smouldering smoke, or scarred slopes, or jostling men, or faces masked with fear. Each line really paints a picture that the reader can almost see in front of them, which really makes the poem come alive. It's not just created through imagery, there are even bits of irony thrown in here and there, where Sassoon says, "Men jostle and climb to meet the bristling fire." Well, normally no one in their right mind would jostle and try and get ahead of each other to reach a line of bullets, but that's what these soldiers had to go through in World War I, and Sassoon is almost speaking out against the generals that made them do that. I think overall this poem is really about the horrors of war, and it's obviously a very clear stand from Sassoon to reveal to people what these World War I battles are really like and what these soldiers are going through. Never-Ending War by Greg Landon. I write to you from the field of the slain. The men who caused this look on with disdain. Battles have raged since the dawn of time. Murder is punished, but war's not a crime. Man creates struggles that he cannot end, so he chooses weapons to help him defend what he claims is his and his alone. Let he who is brave enough cast the first stone. Conflict and fighting will go on forever. Swords and guns only add to the terror. Though many will die and only heroes return, the fire of war will always burn. The tragedy of war cannot be stopped, so keep on believing till death do us part.